All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals here for a little bit. Look, obviously one of the top contenders in the entire AFC, frankly, the entire NFL. We're getting ready for them to kick off the regular season just a little over a week away. But the Bengals recently made a sneaky good move that kind of, I think, will have a big impact as they get ready for their week one matchup. I think not a lot of people are paying attention to what the Bengals coaching staff has recently done, but I think it's pretty smart.
Yeah, Nick, as always, we love to find the smart moves, and the Bengals just made one. I think will have fans, thinking a little bit deeper about what exactly is going on. I think they're going to love this story. But Bengals fans, speaking about thinking deep, let's start thinking deep about the season. Literally just a week from today, the season will kick off with the season opener, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions. And now is your last chance to get your season predictions in the comments section below. Let us know what you think the record for the Bengals will be this season. A last chance to get your official season prediction in the comments section below. But Nick, let's get on into it. What's going on with the Bengals?
So obviously the big news with Cincinnati right now involves Joe Burrow, right? They're all-world quarterback. Will he be ready for week one? When he's going to make his appearance? And the Bengals coaching staff have made two recent reports coming out, giving kind of two different views here about Joe Burrow. And I'm going to explain why I think it's really smart. But first, let's throw up the reports are from NBC Sports and ESPN, respectively. All right, the first one from NBC Sports. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow returned to practice on Wednesday, potentially setting up to play in Cincinnati's week one matchup with Cleveland. In his Thursday press conference, head coach Zach Taylor said he thought Burrow looked good in his return. Always good to get him out there, Taylor said. It certainly energizes the team when you get a chance to get your starting quarterback back. So I thought he looked good. But as far as Burrow playing on September 10th, Taylor wouldn't say that's his expectation. Just taking it day to day right now. All right, and then later from ESPN, Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan said Thursday that quarterback Joe Burrow has looked the part as he returns from a strained right calf. I think he's in a good place, and we got a good plan in place for him to get ready for week one, Callahan said. Based on the description of his practice participation, Burrow was unofficially limited, again, key limited, in the team's final practice before the regular season officially starts. All right, obviously it's good news that he's back on the practice field doing some things, even though it's limited. But I think what the Bengals here have done between both their offensive coordinator and their head coach here, everything they're doing with Burrow, I think is really smart because the Cincinnati Bengals obviously are lining up to play the Cleveland Browns week one. Any defense in this situation, this is basically an extended prep period, right? Preseason ends, long time before week one starts. Defenses love this, especially defensive coordinators, because they get to build the craftiest game plan they possibly can come up with to try and stop a team like the Bengals that a lot of teams are very familiar with. Obviously, they're one of the top contenders in football, returning a lot of their key players. But the one wild card would be is if they completely had to change their offense, the Bengals, because they were starting Jake Browning, a guy who I believe has not played in a single NFL game in his very short career. I think this is his fourth year going to the league, 0 official appearances in the NFL. Has been mainly a practice squad. You would have two completely different game plans if you're going against the Bengals, obviously, if Joe Burrow's a starter versus if Browning is a starter. And what this is doing, not committing one way or the other about Joe Burrow's availability, keeping him limited, forces the Browns to have to adjust and come up with a game plan for both circumstances. That will dilute the amount of practice time they can focus on for a full game plan. And when you're a team as good as Cincinnati, the only way you can beat them is when you're fully focused with your game plan and your strategies. I think the Bengals are making a really smart move here with their coaching staff, with their announcements on Burrow, because they're forcing the Browns to plan for everything. I think that'll really help them get off to a strong start to the regular season. But Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on everything with the Bengals right now. So the regular season is just a few days away.
Yeah, Nick. And, the Bengals right now, at least we'll know more when it gets around to the season, but the rosters are in. They have 3 quarterbacks. The recent pickup of a guy like Will Greer, that there's a little wrinkle into the mix.
Well, he's practice squad, right? So they're not going to bring him up until the very last second. There's not, and he doesn't know the offense, right? So you kind of have to put that to the side a little bit.
But, it would be there, but then definitely Browning is in the mix and Burrow. And it's like one guy is saying, well, I don't know, maybe Burrow will play. And the other guy is saying, well, I have a game. The offensive coordinator is like, my game plan is for Burrow. So you're like, well, who is saying what? Who's saying the truth? And they're throwing, two sides back and forth. And like you said, it really makes the Browns think, well, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Are they going to trade him? Who knows? No, that's not going to happen. But it's a very interesting tactic by the Bengals, like you said, to say, look, Joe Burrow, he's back, but we don't want anyone to know exactly what we're going to do with him yet, because maybe we want to rest him the first game back. Maybe we don't want to take any chances, but also maybe he's ready. Maybe we want him to go, and the Browns won't know until the second that he steps on the field and takes the first snap of the game. So I think it's a really, really interesting strategy because, like you said, now the Bengals, they know who they're getting ready for. They know Deshaun Watson is going to be at the helm of this offense. There's no question about it. They got Nick Chubb. They've got Watson. They don't have to worry about what they're doing as far as game planning against the Browns offense. They've got a lot of tape on it, and they know what to do. Nobody knows what the Bengals are going to do, and it's very, very intriguing because even if Browning is to take a step out on the field, you got to be worried because they still got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins out there. Those are two dynamic playmakers I think any quarterback can throw to and make themselves look very, very good. So I think this is really great once again by the Bengals to just throw that everlasting mind game out there. I really love when teams do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's very Belichickian, right? I feel like this is something the Patriots would do, right? Tom Brady was always on the injury report, I think, every week for like 10 years for the longest time in New England until the NFL forced them to not list him on the injury report just for this kind of thing. Force the other team to plan for everything, especially one new wrinkle in this. The Browns have a new defensive coordinator. They hired Jim Schwartz, a really capable, smart guy, in my opinion, to head up their defense, but he is not very experienced in terms of this the AFC North going up against the Bengals as much as maybe other defensive coordinators are. So that puts a whole nother wrinkle in this situation here where Schwartz is trying to come up with his first game plan for the Cleveland Browns. Again, he's brand new to Cleveland to match up against the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously one of the best offenses in football, certainly when Joe Burrow is healthy. And now he doesn't know what's going to happen. Is Burrow going to play? If Burrow plays, is he limited? Or are they going to throw Browning in there? Maybe they do, like you potentially brought up the fact, maybe they bring up Will Greer out of nowhere and he starts, right? Right now, Jim Schwartz, his head has to absolutely be spinning. He's trying to evaluate his talent, trying to figure out who he wants to play, how he wants to play him. And his arguably the most important game for Cleveland the first month of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals, they have no idea how to come up with a game plan. That's a massive advantage for Cincinnati. And it's these kind of advantages that really work out for teams in the long run. Smart job by Taylor and company. I really like what the Bengals are doing here.
Yeah, Nick. And the last thing, because you brought it up and I really just thought about this because it is very true. The Browns are the best team for them to do this against because it's like you said, new defensive coordinator. He doesn't. Mike McDonald's already played against the Bengals. The Ravens would know how to play against Burrow, so they could maybe game plan against Browning. Tomlin knows how to play against Burrow. They all know what to bring to the table. So this is ideal circumstances, and I think this is just even more brilliance by the Bengals to realize the circumstances that they are in and try to capitalize.